Hey guys, Giaquinto here, back with another episode of Essential Things and Where to Find Them. If you watched last video, you would know that we left off looking at the Faith Merchant, if you're familiar with the game. And that's exactly what we're going to start this video looking at, the Magic Merchants. And then as we get later on into the video, we're going to pick up just a few core items within the Undead Burg, and we're going to finish with a really sweet and powerful sword. So starting the video out from Firelink Shrine, and I just want to show you again that starting point if you're new to the game. You're going to run towards the slight right, and you're going to take the steps and ascend up, and that will lead you into the actual area where I was at in the last video. This is Petrus of Thourland, and he is a cleric, and he is going to be your main input and access to just a series of faith items. So you'll have to exhaust his dialogue, and then once you do that, he will offer you miracles, and he'll offer you just a few items that will help you cast those miracles. But I just want to say that if you're looking to investing some souls with him, I highly recommend you come back and save souls, just because we want to invest into something. So if you're going to follow me along this little journey, we're going to save up for one of the core essential items in Dark Souls 1. One of the things that he does sell and offer, I want you to hold off on, and he's going to offer you 2 talismans. One of them you can actually pick up within the area. He actually has a secret stash, which is located in a hideaway area. But before we get into that, I just want to show you guys just some of what he offers. So he has a great heal, which in my opinion that's not needed. Homeward, it works just like the Homeward Bone. That'll enable you to teleport to the last bonfire you rested at. He sells Force, which is just a knockback spell, and then the Minor Heal, I like to call it, will give you 5 casts. That's what you're going to want to purchase if you're a starting player. You need more heals as opposed to, just resorting to Estus. And then he sells you the Thourland and basic talismans, which both of those just have different scaling. But we're going to hold off from buying the standard talisman, because little do we know it, and this is actually lore related, he has a secret stash, which, based off the items in these chests, it kind of hints at where his story's going to go later on throughout the game if you're able to just be at the right places at the right times and completely finish what I look at as his side quest, just his side piece of story and his full background. So we got some Homeward Bones, a Morning Star, and a Talisman, two highly noted cleric items. And then in the final chest we have the Cracked Red-Eye Orb. Why would he have Cracked Red-Eye Orbs hidden away inside of a treasure stash? More on that later, quite possibly. If you're curious, you can look up this side quest on YouTube if I end up not covering it. And then finally we have one last chest, Lloyd's Talisman. Now, I want to look at this item really quickly. Don't use these on regular enemies. You're going to want to save this for PvP. It's extremely useful. If you're invading and you're dealing with somebody who's healing constantly, if you're able to land one of these talismans on them, they won't be able to use Estus, and that'll even out the playing field. So that's always really good. Now, jumping off from that hideaway area, you're going to hug the graveyard wall and walk along the right exterior part. You're going to run up and out towards the edge, and you're going to pick up some binoculars. From here, we're going to run down the steps in Firelink Shrine, and we're actually going to revisit New Londo, because there was one thing I intentionally left out because I thought it would pair really well with touching on Petrus of Thourland and him being a magic merchant. So by accessing this elevator once again, that will take us down into the dark ruins of what was New Londo. And down there's actually one NPC. He's going to sell you intelligence spells. So the intelligence casters, this is where you're going to want to go for your magic. And he's actually the game's first proper true blacksmith. It took me a second to really gather thought there, because I really don't look at him as the game's first proper blacksmith, but he technically is, being that you can reinforce weapons and armor and power some of your items here.
Well, I shouldn't pry. I'm Rickert of Vinheim. I was once an established smith, guys. Look at me now. Can you believe it? How about this? I could forge your weapons, albeit with rather minimal tools. I'll show you what made me the best in Vinheim.
So we're going to take a look at Rickert's inventory, just some of what he offers for the intelligence caster. Now, as I said before, he can repair and reinforce, which means buff your equipment with the use of souls and Titanite shards, which early on in the game you're really not going to have direct access to this. You're going to have to go to the first proper area progressing the story. But if for whatever reason you're having trouble zoning to the game's true second blacksmith, you could always reinforce your items here. So he has two different types of soul arrows, and then he has the sorcerer's catalyst. Shows you the required parameters for everything. I figured I would just leave that on the screen for a little bit so you guys can see it if you haven't reached this point yet. Kind of craft your build and use your souls to level properly. So he doesn't offer too much, but you'll have access to another NPC later who will offer you more. So now, if you made it to Undead Burg, this is the first initial bonfire. And we're kind of skipping ahead here, but if you've made it this far, there's a merchant that I want you to reach. You can open this door with the master key and pick up the wooden shield. And then from the bonfire, you're going to run down and speak to this guy.
Or wits about you? Then you are a welcome customer. I trade for souls. Everything's for sale.
This NPC is known as the Undead Merchant to most, and he sells must-haves, so this is a must-stop for you in your playthrough in Dark Souls 1. One of those things being the Dried Finger, which is going to strengthen your connection to online players for just invasion and PvP. Extremely useful, especially if you're looking to group up with your friends. So just keep that in mind. The orange guidance soapstone, those signs that you see on the ground with advice, you can pick up one of those there and leave signs of your own. He sells a repair box, a bottomless box, and a key. All things that I recommend you come back for. Don't spend your souls on it yet. Don't go crazy on him, because we want to make a big investment later on. So even your usable souls, kind of set those to the side. Don't go nuts here. And the heater shield, which I actually recommend you buy this. It's one of the most underrated shields in the game. A 2-pound shield with 55 stability and 100% physical reduction. An absolute monster and a must-have for a lightweight build. And I want to make sure you guys pick up a bow and some large arrows. I would say 20 to 40. 40 if you're new with the bow and arrow and the aiming system, just because we're going to use this to get a really sweet sword later on. So again, just ignore all the things that look really nice to have, because once you make your big investment, which I'm going to showcase in the third or fourth video, you're going to come back here and you'll be able to buy pretty much everything that you want. So I exhaust most of his dialogue here because I thought he offered you a gesture, but I turned out to be wrong about that. So in this next clip, we're actually going to look at the heater shield, because again, the heater shield is one of my favorite shields in the game. I'm comparing it to my target shield, which doesn't give me 100% physical damage reduction. I think 13 or 10 less stability. Yeah, 10 less stability. And look at the fire resist on that shield, the heater shield. It's just absolutely useful. 250 durability as opposed to 150. And it has the quick parry motion, which I know a lot of players like for PvP. So this is a great PvP piece too. So fast forwarding and looking at the steps that ascend up to the boss of the Undead Burg, we're actually going to ignore that. We're going to make a right, and we're going to see a Black Knight. So we're going to walk up to him slowly. Highly recommend you have a dagger here. You can pick up a standard dagger at the Undead Merchant. That won't cost you much. I have the Bandit's Knife because I'm using the Thief set. Once you pull off one backstab, you're going to take him to the first wide open area you come across, which is right up the steps you came. And you're going to hug his back. Do not roll, do not block. Just hug his back, wait for him to attack, and rinse and repeat the backstab process. He's going to reward you with the Titanite chunk, which you'll be able to use later on in your playthrough to upgrade items to much higher tiers. So those are really dear. Hold dear to those and try and get as many as you can so you can test out everything with much higher and later scaling to perfect your build. So going back down those steps, making a U-turn, I wanted to show you that you do not want to go that way. Going forward from the steps where the Black Knight was standing, you're going to pick up a very useful ring in the blue Tearstone ring. Now you can put this on, and this is a forgiveness ring. Let's say you have questionable health and you take a heavy hit that would normally kill you. This will sometimes save your life, so it's useful for beginner and even expert players looking to do like low-level runs and things of that nature. So running up 2 flights of steps and looking off to our right, to the right of the boss door, just so you have something to go off of, you're going to break some barrels, and you're going to come across a hidden creature that's going to drop you an extremely useful source of material that you can also use later on, and I highly recommend you be selective with it. Twinkling Titanite. More on that in another video, quite possibly. Fast forwarding again, once you beat the boss of the Undead Burg, you're going to have access to this next area. Make sure you talk to the NPC, my favorite NPC, Solaire. Have conversation with him, and then going across the bridge, I forgot that the dragon comes down. So returning players, don't forget about that guy. If you're new to the game, yeah, dragons exist. You're going to run across this bridge, you're going to make a right, and we're going to pick up an essential shortcut. Yes, we include shortcuts here in this video too. And that's going to lead you back down to the Undead Burg bonfire. So make sure you rest at that, just because you'll get all your Estus back, and you could ignore all those enemies. Go right back up the ladder, and this is where you're going to take out the bow and your large arrows. And I'm going to show you guys how to do this just properly, to where you're not expending your investment in the arrows. So you're going to come up on the dragon's tail, you're going to take aim at this spot right here, and we're going to break this down together. You're going to kill this enemy off, because he can be a nuisance. So just hit him with a backstab, parry him, kill him, whatever you need to do. Take your bow out, and you're going to two-hand your bow, and then hit, I believe it is L1 to zoom in, and then you're going to press R1 to shoot. And once you get the tail right about there, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right before the moss, you're going to shoot an arrow, and I would say right about 10 to 13 large arrows specifically. You'll be able to get that tail off, and it's going to reward you with the Drake Sword. Which back in the day, I remember when this game first came out, everyone was like, yo man, you gotta get the Drake Sword, it's absolutely amazing. Chances are you can't wield this if you're not a strength build, but I have 12 strength, and if I two-hand this guy, it's actually going to give me 24 strength, which it only requires 16, so you can actually wield this two-handed as long as you have 8 strength. So just keep in mind that if you have anything less than the required, do not one-hand this weapon. And it also has a very sweet, and that's what it looks like when you one-hand, but it has a very sweet charge attack, which I'm going to show you. It's fairly quick for its size. By hitting R2, you can charge up the blade. That's going to damage it a lot, so don't use that too much. But yeah, just a really heavy-hitting weapon for early on in the game. So that is it for our intro run through the Undead Burg. I hope you guys enjoyed yet another episode of Essential Things and Where to Find Them. The next episode should be out next week. It's Sunday currently at the time that I'm recording this. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I will see you then. Later.